In this video, I will demonstrate how controlled vocabularies are used to make subject terms in the CINAHL database, and you can use those to be more precise in your searching. I'm first going to start by opening the CINAHL database. So if I go to Find Databases, and I click on C, it can go down to the CINAHL Plus full text. Now I can do a simple search. So if I was looking for something on heart attack, and I do a search, I've just done a simple keyword search. I haven't even put it in quotes to search for it as a phrase, so therefore I'm finding the word heart by itself. I'm also finding other related terms. So what is happening here is if I scroll down under the Find Results area, you'll see a subject major headings. If I click on that to see the headings and show more so I can see all of them, what the system has done has matched the word heart attack to myocardial infarction, because that is the standardized term, which is the proper medical term to use. So if I say yes, I want to see those, I can now see all 23,000 items in the database that are about myocardial infarction. So that means that the word just doesn't appear there, but the article is actually about that. The research is about something to do with heart attacks. Now you can see here the word heart attack is used in the title because it is the layperson's term and it's commonly used, but myocardial infarction is part of the subject terms that have been added to this record. So in each of the database items, a subject has been added based off of what the article is about, even if that term doesn't appear in the heading or the title or even in the abstract. We can see here that not only has myocardial infarction been added, but we have a sub-area of prevention and control, and again, old age. So each of these areas are different topics that have been added, and they're all linkable. So if I was to click on myocardial infarction, prevention and control, I now can search for everything on the database on that area. Another way in which to approach this, if I go back and add, if I just simply select heart attack as a keyword and I say suggest subject terms, it will open up the CINAHL headings tool here and suggest a term for me. So here it's telling me instead of heart attack, use myocardial infarction. I can click on that. It adds it to my search box here on the right. It gives me a suggested list of sub areas that I could search, and obviously these sub areas would change based off the topic I choose. And I can say yes, search for that as a major concept. So what I'm doing is a subject-based search using the controlled vocabulary. That way we know that every item in our results is going to be about our topic and not just have the word mentioned there. Another way to find the proper subject term to search is simply by starting in the CINAHL Headings tab. So if I go to the CINAHL Headings tool at the top and I put in a term, it will tell me what the proper term is for searching. If I'm not sure exactly what that term means, there's typically a scope note over here on the right that talks about how that term is used in the database. So even though sometimes you might know the term itself, it might be used slightly different in the database, and that's why your results might seem unusual to you. So let's try that again. Go to the CINAHL Headings. And it's going to tell me to use breast neoplasms instead of breast cancer, because again, that's a proper medical term. And so therefore I can click on the term, add an appropriate subheading if I would like, say yes, I want to search for that as a major concept, and search for that in the database. Occasionally you will come up to the CINAHL Headings and you may do a search for a term and you cannot find an exact match. You may determine So in this case, I search for alternative treatment. Now I know that there is literature on alternative therapies or alternative treatments, but I'm not really sure what the term is. I can see here the term alternative therapy and is listed, but it's not exactly related to my term. So occasionally the tool won't do that exact match for you. And in that case, if you're struggling, you can always do a search in the database for the term that you have in your head And sometimes you get stuck on a term and you can't really think of alternatives. It does try to give you some suggestions there, but that's not always the best way to come up with the subject term. So if I hit search, now I've searched for that as a phrase, right? So I've put it in quotes to search for that as a phrase. I can then look through my results list and see if any of the results list have other terms in which would be a close match for me. So I can look at the subject terms that are posted. I can look in the subject terms here. I can also look in the subject terms to the left here. So if I click on that, make it bigger, and I can see here that actually the right term was alternative therapies. I was just a little too far off when using the CINAHL headings for it to match me exactly. It is one of the frustrating things about using that tool directly. The other thing is that it doesn't spell check, which is a little strange, being that it's, you know, this day and age that it should give you some spell check suggestions. So if you are struggling with using the CINAHL headings tool, you can always just do a simple keyword search here and then look in the subject headings on the left to see if any of these matches better.